And so there are several different ways to try to avoid these types of biases, not getting a representative sample or getting self-selection bias. And one of them is to use, or try to use random sampling. Now, can anybody tell me what it means if you have a truly random sample? What probability does any given person in the population have of being selected?
The same as everyone else?
Yeah, the same as everyone else. That's exactly right. So every single person in the population has an equal probability of being chosen for this study. And now, this can be harder than it sounds because the method that you use to seek out your participants can lead to a biased sample, just like we saw in that 1936 presidential election poll. They were using the phone book, and like we said, not all that many people had a phone at the time. It was only the wealthier individuals. Now, we'll talk about phone surveys a little bit later on. And I don't want to jump the gun there, but that is one method that can be used, is to just go through the phone book and get a listing of everybody there and assign a number to all the names, and then just use a random number generator, like we've talked about the research randomizer online before, randomizer.org, to select names from that list. Now, another technique is stratified sampling. And so this is a little different from random sampling in that the important subgroups in your population are going to be represented exactly in your sample. So this is going to be similar to something called quota sampling in a non-probability sample. Sorry, I forgot to mention this earlier, but non-probability sample is pretty much the same as a convenience sample. And I've had to do this quota sampling in my research before, because in a lot of my studies that I've mentioned, I've wanted to look at sex differences. And as you may be aware, when you're looking at college students enrolled in psychology courses, female students tend to be overrepresented. In fact, if we would just try to get people at random, we'd end up with about maybe 70% of our sample being female. And that's not exactly going to be representative of the population, because usually the population is roughly 50-50 male-female. There are some little variations, but usually you try to get an equal sex ratio if you're doing those types of studies. And so with stratified sampling, you just want to make sure that, like I said, those important subgroups are represented exactly in your sample. So if you look at the population of the United States, and there are certain proportions of different racial groups, well then when you're collecting your sample, you want to make sure that those groups are represented in the same proportions in your sample as they are in the actual population. And then finally we have cluster sampling. So cluster sampling involves sampling at random from the specific groups. So if you're interested in a particular group, you can target those individuals and then try to get their opinion or their attitude on a certain topic that you're studying. And so you can see some big differences between these approaches, whether you're using a non-probability or convenience sample, or trying to use one of these other probability sampling procedures that ensures that you're either going to be targeting specific groups, getting representing all the groups in similar proportions as they occur in the population, or just trying to pull people at random from the population. Okay. So, any questions about these?